Okay, your investment strategy. Your investment strategy will always depend upon a few things. Number one is your mindset, and if that's not there, it's actually you're not gonna get anywhere. The reason is that anytime you're gonna face challenges and issues, you're gonna quit and look for another strategy or look for another solution or whatever. So if you want to get into this thing, you make sure that you have the right mindset before you embark on this journey. Second, you got to ask yourself, are you going to be in this for long term or a short term? So are you totally committed to actually creating another stream of income via property? So if I was to break down this formula, that's how it would unfold. So how much equity or cash would you need to be able to do a development? So let's say figure out the total developer's equity plus cash, which is basically, let's say you can borrow 70% of the total development cost, and you've got, that's 100 minus 70%, that gives you 30%. And if you've got $200,000 on your hand, you can divide that by 30% to be able to get the maximum cost of your development. So let's say in this scenario, the maximum cost of your development is $666,000, for example. Now, remember that this is actually the total cost. That means that the cost of the development for that unit or for the total cost could be $666,000, but when you sell it on the market, it could be $780,000 because that's your developer's margin, that's your profit in there. And you have to subtract the selling cost and GST from it. And so basically, in essence, you are actually investing $200,000 of your own money, leveraging off the bank's money to get back a $90,000 profit. So your return on equity is about 45% return. And if you get together with 4 JV partners with $200,000 each, you'll be able to pull off a development which is 3.12 mil, or as the 3.75 mil as I showed you in the example earlier. So the next thing that you need to understand in order to be able to do this development is, do I have the management and marketing expertise to lease up and manage the property after completion? You also have to identify your needs for immediate cash flow. Can you wait for a big payday, or would you like cash flow now? Do you want to build or hold or sell at completion? Do I have all the necessary expertise to pull off a successful development? Do I need a money partner? Do I need to partner with someone, or am I able to carry the development on its own? So these are certain things that you need to understand. Another thing you need to also understand is that the reason we actually get into doing a development is because so that we can actually acquire property at cost. And I'm going to quickly run you through this. So this is a feasibility on the left. Let's just look at one of them so that you don't get confused. So on this side is a feasibility for a development opportunity. So we bought the land for $650,000 here, but then we actually ended up developing units on it. So we are developing about 6 sellable units on it. And if the selling price for each unit is about $710,000, there's actually about $147,000 profit for each unit. So if you look at the actual, if you were to keep this property, if you were to keep one of the units at the end of the development, this is what it will look like. The value of the end unit that you've developed would remain the same, about $710,000. But the thing is that you actually just made a $147,000 profit in there. So if you look at the growth chart, the way that works is that this is like in a 5-year interval, and the way that works is that you started off with something that cost you, $562,000, but you made an instant equity in profit right there and then. Then you made rental and the capital growth on it as the time went by. So if you were to compare this, so let me just compare. This is one of my This is basically a real estate investment analysis for commercial and any kind of investment property that you want to get. And this is in the making, in the sense that it's already ready, but I will be launching a full course on this thing very soon. So if I was to actually do an analysis on an investment property that I was going to keep, which I developed myself, the difference would be that when the value of the property would be exactly the same, the $710,000, that was the market value. And if I make $550,000 per week rent on this, um, and I get a 30-year mortgage, or I have a 3-year interest only loan, and that it converts into a principal and interest, a P&I loan, and I want to keep it for, let's say, the development. I plan to keep it for 15 years, or I plan to keep it for 30 years, let's say. So if you got something that you're going to keep it for 30 years, the main difference between this and if you were to buy the same property at $710,000 and 80% LVR would be in the cash flow. It will take you, now this is excluding, I've got some figures in the depreciation side of things, but this is that's what is going to be, the way it's going to be different is that in here, where you've done the development yourself on the right side, you will only be borrowing maybe 60%, because you will be using the profit that you made as equity, and roll it over in here. But the main impact of that happens right here when you got your cash flow, or the taxable income from that property. And you'll see that it will take almost 4 years, if everything else remains the same, for that property to actually start becoming positive. That is because at the end of the, let's just kick that in, because I think I've got interest only loan for 3 years, on both of them. This is example one. We are doing the development over here, and here we are actually buying the property in retail. What's is available. Everything else remains the same. The rent is $550. The expected rental growth is 3%. Annual rental increase is 2.5%. Everything else remains the same, but the main difference is when it actually goes and hits, right here, where it's not going to be cash flow positive for 4 years. That means you will be out of pocket a certain amount, every year. But if you want to do, a if you just want to do, a tax offset thing and so on with negative gearing, I'm not a big fan of negative gearing. But if that's where you wanted to go, that's what it would look like. But here's the main issue with this thing. Now we have this. Let's turn that into 30 years as well, so we are comparing everything the same. And if you change that to 15, so that we can fit that in one screen. This is where the main difference is going to start coming in. So you see the negative, NPV, which is the net present value of all the future cash flows, is going to turn out to be negative 18,000. Whereas over here we have a positive NPV, which basically tells you that the property it's good. But I'll get into this detail. There's a separate course coming up on real estate investment analysis, and I'll discuss all of these in a lot more detail. But I quickly wanted to show you that this is one of the most important things that we do our developments ourselves, so that we can get property cheaper, build equity in the property a lot quicker, a lot faster.